I have Senate Bill 814, which is meant to really protect the Chesapeake Bay. As you know, right now, last year the General Assembly passed legislation that would allow drilling in the bay. Fortunately, the President has put in a moratorium on that issue, but moratoriums can be lifted. And so what 814 seeks to do is set up criteria by which Virginia would have to take a step back and look very hard at whether or not we're going to indeed drill in the bay. Senate Bill 794, this legislation would have required that when we consider building a new power plant, like a coal factory, that we take into consideration the health and impact on the local environment. This bill, I said, would have done this. This bill is still alive, so hopefully this bill will accomplish that task. Senate Bill 907, inclining block rates. My aide likes to call this the Sand Clubs bill. And what we mean by that is, in a lot of instances when we're selling electricity or buying or using electricity, the more we buy, the cheaper it is. And that sort of is the converse of what we want to have happen. That's not true uniformly across the board, but that is true to a certain extent. And so Senate Bill 907 attempts to address that. Finally, Senate Bill 1119 would make it easier for DEQ to consider past performance records when granting permits to landfills and other entities to expand their operations. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Delegate Pollard.
Thank you. You've got a piece of legislation which passed out of committee yesterday with unanimous recommendation dealing with Virginia Resources Authority. And that bill allows for the VRA, the Virginia Resources Authority, to finance renewable energy projects. A lot of bills dealing with conservation and with renewable energies are not the monumental steps which some people would like to see, but it's important to remember that as we seek energy independence, that this does not have to be a battle between one industry segment and another industry segment. That what we can have is we can have energy independence with renewables as a vital part of that mix, of that matrix.
Well, you know, in Virginia, we have so many precious natural resources, and we don't always handle them or manage them in the way we should. And so we thought it was important this year and every year, quite frankly, to make sure the environment is on the front burner as far as the General Assembly is concerned. Well, there are lots of things going on. We just encourage Democrats, Republicans, and Independents to be really involved in this movement. This doesn't need to be a partisan issue anymore. I think we ought to be conserving our resources. We ought to be good stewards of the environment. We have a legacy to pass on to the next generation.
And isn't there a jobs component to all of this? I mean,
absolutely, there's a jobs component to it. All of these bills either preserve jobs or create additional jobs, and that's critical in these perilous economic times.